Hi, my name is Shelby Speck. I'm here at St. Mary's College today, and I'm sharing my story of addiction and recovery here to hopefully help somebody in the audience.
Shelby has always wanted to share her story with the youth in our community. She has presented at a few different events in the Sioux, but she's always talked to me about reaching out to the youth. She's 20 years old, right? She's freshly an adult. So in her mind, her goal has been to reach out to the young students in the high schools. Let's face it, unfortunately that's around the ages when they start to be faced with drugs at parties or drugs outside of the school. So her goal has been to talk to the kids. Her hope is that her story inspires and maybe helps. She's always said, even if it just helps one person. She's always said to me she wanted to pay it forward. She loves presenting at different events, but the high schools, because of the ages, she's been wanting to speak to the youth in our community, which I think is fantastic. Who better to hear it from someone who's experienced at such a young age as well.
I'm sure everyone knows who I am. If you don't know who I am, I'm always here at the school. I'm the high school liaison officer. And I'm very excited about today. This has been in the works for a few years now. And this is Shelby's first appearance in a high school. And it's very important to her because she's been wanting to share her story with the youth in our community. So I'm just thankful to St. Mary's College for letting this happen. So this is the story of Shelby Speck, a 20-year-old female who is a recovering drug addict who has been sober now for 3 years. Her story will talk about her journey and struggles as a young youth dealing with her addictions to drugs, her mental health during that time, and how she was able to overcome those obstacles. Shelby will be graduating this Thursday from Sioux College out of the Social Service Worker Program. I've been fortunate enough not only to become a part of Shelby's story that you're going to hear about today, but now I am a part of her life. I would greatly appreciate your full attention and cooperation in listening to this truly inspiring story. This is your opportunity, gals and guys. We'll have a question and answer period. At any time, if you have a question for Shelby, please, this is your chance to ask questions that maybe you've never been able to ask before. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming my friend, Shelby Speck.
Okay, so hi, my name is Shelby. I am 20 years old, and I am talking today to hopefully make a difference in someone's life. I believe I was given a second chance at life to help other people. I have sat where everyone is sitting right now, rolling my eyes, thinking it was just another drug presentation and it was never going to happen to me, but it did. So I am 3 years sober as of March 21st of this year. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't easy, but so worth it. I used to be embarrassed to talk about my addiction because of all the stigma behind it, but I've come very far and believe the more you talk about it, the better. So I'm a recovering drug addict. I wasn't able to say that for a long time. I never believed it, never thought I needed help, no matter who told me I did. It didn't matter if it was doctors, family, friends, counselors, or even police officers. I always thought I had it under control. At most times during the day, I had myself convinced I was sober, even though I was using all day, every day. I never really thought drugs could ruin my life, but they did. My drug addiction made me lose everything. My family, friends, my job, my education, my health, and my mind. They turned me into a completely different person. For me, my drug addiction all started with smoking weed. I started the summer of grade 8, continued smoking it in grade 9. By grade 10, the weed high wasn't good enough, so I tried Molly. I had older friends, so they introduced me to cocaine, and I fell in love with the high. By grade 11, I was hooked on crystal meth. I have tried every drug you could imagine, but meth took over my life. One night, I was at my friend's house. I was upset because I couldn't find cocaine. Her parents overheard me and said they couldn't find me cocaine, but they had meth. So I'm like, oh, okay. I tried it, and the second I did, I was hooked. I was constantly chasing that first high, and I was smoking more and more every day. My life quickly began to spiral out of control. I began to steal money from anyone, including my loved ones, and it didn't bother me. I didn't have a care in the world, not even for my family who never gave up on me. I used to be an honor roll student before the addiction progressed. I stopped going to school. My mom would drop me off, and then as soon as I thought she'd leave, I'd walk right out the back door to go get high. The only reasons I went to work was to get money for my next fix. I never used to lie at all, but then it became normal for me. I even started to believe my own lies. I never came home. My family barely saw me. The only time I came home was to beg for drug money and get a change of clothes and sleep after being awake for 3 days. I stopped taking care of myself mentally and physically. I weighed maybe 80 pounds soaking wet. I never dealt with mental illness until I started using. I started to develop symptoms of depression and thoughts of suicide, which had me in the mental health ward in the hospital almost every month. One day I tried leaving home because I couldn't stand my parents for caring about me. I hated the rules, I hated everything like that. So I tried to leave, and my parents and everything tried to stop me. So when they were trying to hold me back, my sister grabbed me, and then I ended up biting her. Like, I literally left a scar on my sister, the one person I love more than anything. My parents called the justice of the peace, and the police picked me up and brought me to the mental health ward because I was a danger to myself and others. When I was in the hospital room, a longtime drug user came in and was yelling at me, asking what I was doing. She's like, "You're just a baby. You have so much life to live," and it really kind of stayed in my mind. The things I've seen and the things I have done so I could get drugs still haunt me to this day. I used to walk down Gore Street at 3 and 4 in the morning without a care in the world because honestly I couldn't care if I lived or died. Drugs consumed my being, and I totally gave up on myself. I used to hang out with a girl off the show Intervention. When I hung out with her, I remember going into her house and I would step over her used needles. I watched people who were best friends almost kill each other, and I mean literally almost kill each other in front of me. I would sit in the same rocking chair for hours on end without even moving. My drug dad had me in debt thousands of dollars, like $7,000 plus. Being a drug addict is like walking around with a black cloud over your head. You feel like you're slowly killing yourself. You lose yourself completely. Everything you once loved and believed in no longer matters. One night changed everything for me. I went to see one of my positive friends I have known for a long time. And when he saw my physical appearance and erotic behavior, he called the police right away. Due to my history with the police, I ended up running. I ran all the way to my drug dealer's house to hide. After a little bit, I got a call on my phone, no caller ID. I didn't know what possessed me to answer it, but I did. It happened to be Emily. We talked. By the end of the call, she convinced me to go to rehab. Emily and I have a long history. She was always on my calls and always believed in me, which saved my life. The process began quite quickly. They brought my name to a situation table, which basically is for people who really need immediate help, and it quickens the process a little bit. I was taken into the mental health ward where I withdrawed. It was the worst thing I ever had to go through. It's like the worst flu you've ever had times 10. I remember being so hot, but sweating and freezing all at the same time. So many nights my body ached so bad. I told so many people I just wanted to cut off my legs. It was awful. This withdrawal lasted 15 days. I believe the withdrawal is the main reason people can't stay sober. The pain is so awful, I would have rather breaking every single bone in my body than go through withdrawal. My decision to go to rehab in Ottawa for 3 months at the Dave Smith Youth Treatment Center was the best decision I've ever made. It gave me the opportunity to remove myself from toxic environment, away from the sexual, physical, and mental abuse that comes with drug addiction, and helped me focus solely on my recovery in so many different ways. I found myself again. I was really lucky because the 2 parents who took me in and introduced me to meth, they were people who human traffic girls. So I was really, really lucky that I wasn't one of those girls, but the sexual favors for drugs I did and all that kind of stuff, it makes me sick to my stomach. And if you think you're not going to do it, once you get hooked on drugs, you will. Coming back from rehab, I realized the importance of outpatient counseling because you have a lot of challenges. One of them being your feelings. Drugs completely numb you, so I didn't understand the happy feeling or the sad feeling, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I would honestly, I just didn't understand feelings at all because drugs make you so numb. Living a sober life means no longer associating with your old friends. They'll suck you right back in. It was lonely for the first year. All I had was my family, but we made it through together, and they were there every step of the way. If you show me your friends, I could show you what your future is going to look like. Being sober is the most beautiful thing. I am experiencing things I would have never without sobriety. I didn't see a future, but now I do. I never thought it was going to be possible to attend college, but in rehab, I finished 8 credits to graduate from high school. Today, I am proud to say that I'm graduating on Thursday from the social service work student from Sioux College. Before I went to rehab, my parents gave all my college money to me to pay my drug debts so I could come back with a clean slate. So I had no college money. I was really, really lucky because I got a scholarship through my rehab, and that gave me the opportunity to finish college. My goal now is to find a job working with people with addictions and mental illness. My mental health has taken a full 360. I have positive friends in my life, and I enjoy every day. I couldn't be more thankful for the Sault Ste. Marie Police, mental health nurses, counselors, and anyone that became a part of my team that encouraged me and believed in me to seek out treatment. One thing I always say is to be successful in recovery, you have to want it. Most importantly, my family relationships were put through the test during this difficult time. However, they were the best supporters, and I couldn't have done it without them and their love. I still, to this day, keep a picture of my sister in my wallet. So through all my drug addiction, every time I reached out to get money to buy drugs, my sister's picture was in there, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm still alive today. Honestly, if I didn't quit drugs, I wouldn't be speaking here today. I would be dead. I would have either been killed or overdosed. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to speak today, and if anyone has any questions at all, I would really love to answer them. I also want to say, I'm not standing up here saying don't do drugs. I just want to educate you on what happens when you do drugs. Also, please be safe when you're doing drugs. The cocaine you think is good, it's not. Trust me. 6 months ago today, a friend I knew who was actually younger than me passed away due to a drug overdose on drugs she thought were really good. So I just wanted to thank you again.
So this is your opportunity. If you just take a minute and maybe if you think that you have any questions for her, maybe about her story and what has happened to her, now's the chance.
So you said you're like 6 or 7 grand in drug debt. How quick does the drug debt pile up?
It's so quick, it's just like you're gonna buy a gram here, but it adds up so quickly. I was so in over my head because it wasn't like I was just getting like spots from one drug dealer. I had probably like 15 different ones that I'd ask for drugs for and pay them back. I was stealing so much money from my job, everything, to make those drug debts, because there's so many times that they said if I didn't have money, they were gonna go to my house, they were gonna hurt my family. So like it does add up so fast, so fast. So I was very, very close to it. I tried fentanyl with one of my friends. When I did smoke fentanyl, my lips turned the bluest blue color you could ever imagine. I was puking and stuff like that. They were pouring water on me and slapping me. I made it through, but I have a lot of people I know have overdosed. They're lucky enough to live, but a lot of them have actually. So there's one that actually, she just died 6 months ago due to drug overdose. And I've seen it, and like now that Narcan and stuff like that, it's prevented a little bit, but the drugs in the city are awful. They're laced with so much different stuff. It's terrible. So yeah, I'm lucky enough to not have fully overdosed, but I definitely got really sick from fentanyl. Oh, that's an awesome question. Okay, so I was, I think 17 years old when I started doing meth, and I had to lie to a bunch of drug dealers and say that I was 20 because they honestly didn't want to sell it to me. Because of the people I hung out with, it was a little bit easy, but meth was honestly so hard to get, and you know what, that made it really hard. But eventually once you start to get in with certain people, you just have the whole world of finding it. But yeah, it wasn't actually that easy at first.
Can you tell me how it was, like a day would go when you're using?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. Okay, so most nights I would stay at my drug dealer's house with the two parents. I would go to Tim Hortons to get napkins because we couldn't afford toilet paper. So that's how I'd start my day. I'd go get a clean straw so I could smoke meth off tin foil. I would make it back to their house, and by that time I already messaged so many people for drugs, so I would be withdrawing and freaking out until I found them. And then I would get high all day long, just one hit after another after another. I'd sit in the same rocking chair for like hours and hours, and all I did was get high. That's it. At one point, they're like, you need to shower. I think it was 3 days I was awake. I didn't even sleep at all. And I was like, they're like, you need to shower. So, and then the nighttime, I'd stay awake all night, and it'd just keep going and going. And then after probably 3 days, I'd try to go home. I'd get a clothes, take a shower, beg for drug debt money, more money, and then do it all over again. So the good feeling, the good high, I'd take my puff. It would last probably 10 minutes. That's it. It's a really cheap high though. Meth is actually super cheap. Cocaine's actually really expensive. So yeah, so it wouldn't last long. And then you'd kind of go into like, so you'd keep puffing, and then once you're done, like you kind of go into a drug psychosis. Like you're just not there. You're not a person. You're just in your own mind. There was one girl that used to get so high, she'd like peek out the window and she thought people were coming in to find her, and it was awful. It was just like the drug psychosis is really, really scary. She used to think people were running through the backyard, and oh yeah, and it didn't even bug me. That's the weird thing. Now it seems scary.
Some of the places you've been and the amount of drugs that they would feed you.
I was pretty vulnerable. Like I was young, and anywhere I'd go, they'd just be like, here, drugs, drugs, drugs. But you know what? Then you'd end up having to pay them back. Like, and you know, the mixture of drugs I did on a regular basis, I would smoke meth, do cocaine, and smoke weed. And I really liked Ritalin. I'd snort Ritalin. So I was just doing this mixture of drugs because there's so many different places I went. They all had different drugs, and they just feed it to me because they get you hooked, and then you start buying from them. And that's what they do to you. They pull you right in. You think they're your friends, but they're not your friends. They don't care about you. They care about money. So when I started, I want to say I was probably like 150 pounds, let's say, probably roughly. And then before I went away to rehab, I was maybe 70. I'm not good at math, but.
Do you think that cannabis, marijuana, is a gateway drug?
I actually think it is. Like, a lot of people laugh and be like, it's a gateway to the fridge, and I'm like, huh, it's so funny. Actually, you know what? If I never tried smoking weed, I wouldn't know what high was. Like, I wouldn't have experienced the drug world. Like, yeah, there is some benefits to it, but you know what? It all starts with smoking weed. The next thing you know, you're doing cocaine. Honestly, I think it is, for sure.
If there's any advice that you could give to our audience here, they're in high school, maybe they haven't come across drugs, maybe they have, but what would your advice be for the youth in our community?
So I would say, you know what, probably you're going to try weed at one point if you already haven't. I know somebody probably has. Just be safe about it. You know, if you're going to do weed, whatever, it's fine, but the drugs get worse, and all the drugs right now are really laced, and you could think that this person's so reliable, but they're not. They're not reliable at all. You don't get good cocaine here. Be safe. It sounds bad, but if you're going to use with a friend, because if you do overdose, at least you have somebody with you. Don't get pulled into that. You're worth so much more, and the drug world is a dark, dark, dark place.
So the reason that we came today, obviously, is because Shelby wants to share her story. She wants to reach out to the youth in our community and share her story, possibly help someone that may be going through what she went through. This was an educational piece. I could have stood here as a police officer and given you the don't do drugs and drugs are bad, but a lot of times this uniform and talking to the youth, you tune us out. So who better than to bring in someone who's been there, experienced the worst, and possibly help one of you or someone that you may know. So in saying that, I want to thank Shelby. This is her first time sharing her story with the youth in our community. She has done a few other presentations, but you guys and gals have been awesome. The question and answer period was incredible. I was very thankful for that. And thank you, Shelby. Hopefully your story has definitely inspires me. Hopefully it has inspired someone in this audience. And keep doing what you're doing, kiddo. Round of applause for Shelby.
Did I do okay? Did I do okay?
And before we're dismissed as well, you know that we're a close family here at St. Mary's College, and we care about each and every one of you, and we do have supports here for you. So this isn't something that you have to deal with on your own. If you're looking for information, you know some friends or family who's suffering, our counselors at the school, our teachers at the school, administration, we are here for you. And sometimes what it's going to take is a friend helping out another friend who might be going through a difficult time in order to get that support around them. So we're here to support each and every one of you if you're struggling with any of these situations, or in this particular case, the drug situation. So please come forward. We do want to assist any way we can. So another round of applause for our guest speaker, Constable Cox. Thank you again.
I really hope that the students took away today that, drugs can be really dangerous, and that I really provided them with education and what can happen when you do drugs, and that, that there is help out there for them.
So hopefully moving forward, Shelby can continue speaking within the education system. I think it's very important to reach out to the youth in our community. This was an educational piece. It was a story. It wasn't about preaching to the young students that drugs are bad. Yes, everyone recognizes drugs are bad, but her story is real, and hopefully because of that, someone in the audience hears her and feels what she's saying.
So I run a youth group every Tuesday, 7 to 9 at the Neighborhood Resource Center on Gore Street. It's for recovering addicts. Even if you're using a little bit, you can still come and just, talk, and we're there to help and support you.
There is support within the schools. There are high school officers in each high school. I know there's different agencies that are available within the high schools, within the schools in general. So if any student is dealing with a drug addiction or any kind of addiction, at the end of the day, we're here to help. The Sault Ste. Marie Police Service, different agencies, the school administration. So I'm hoping if she has reached out and touched someone and made them contemplate getting help, that they in turn come forward to someone within the school, myself or school administration, and we could definitely offer the support and services that they'll need.